Welcome back, everyone, to another recording of the Z Rebels Technical Water Cooler brought to you by 7 Nines in the System Z Enthusiast Discord. This conversation took place on July 25th of 2024. We spoke about the future of knowledge sharing events and conferences in the mainframe space, talked about what we liked about them today, talked about what we'd love to see improved upon, and we spoke specifically about the ReIPL event that took place in Kansas City, Missouri on August 6th. There was a lot of exciting things to look back on from ReIPL, but we'll save that for another video. In the meantime, I do want to encourage you to take a look at an exciting announcement that happened at ReIPL about DynoFrame. I'd love for you to get involved at the System Z Enthusiast Discord by going to www.7nines.com or going to discord.gg/SZE. I'd also love for you to get engaged with DynoFrame, consider becoming a contributor, and you can go to that site at dynoframe.io, or for all of this information, just hop into the links in the description below. But in the meantime, I do want to kind of usher you over to the recording so that you can check out what the conversation was all about. I hope to see you on August 30th at 8 a.m. Central US time for our next System Z Rebels water cooler conversation. I'll see you then. In the meantime, have a great one. You cool with me starting, Frank?
Please do.
Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the 6th live Z Rebels Technical Water Cooler. This is the 5th recording one. Hopefully you know what we're here for by now, but I'm going to do some quick reminders. We're here to share ideas, challenges, and collaborate on where the mainframe industry needs to go. The last time our big topic was what non-mainframe skills should next generation mainframers know. I'll be sharing links to the previous sessions as part of this quarterly reminder that I do. So we do need to talk about rules because that's what makes, not rules, but this kind of makes our community hospitable and productive. So I'm going to remind you of some of the critical ones. If you don't know the rules, there's a welcome and rules channel there that will refresh your memory, but these are the ones that really, really matter. The first is mutual respect. Please do not disrespect other people in the chat or on voice here. There's no tolerance for discriminatory statements on things like race, age, gender, disability, etc. Second is elitism. That's no good here. Do not insult or belittle other people based on their opinions or preferences. There will be strong opinions here. Each and every one of us need to respect that. And the third is do not share any information that you're not able to share. That's things like intellectual property, topics that are under NDA, and anything else that you don't have explicit permission to share with the public should not be talked about or posted here in the chat. And finally, everyone here, unless they specifically call out otherwise, is representing themselves. Their views do not constitute the views of any organization and should only be considered their own unless they explicitly say otherwise. That's it for the rules. Just a reminder, we do record these sessions as usual, and those get posted to YouTube. So if you don't like that, you can leave or change your name or whatever is going to make you feel comfortable about being recorded. Remember that this conversation is not about what any individual here thinks, but it's about what we, the community, want to talk about. So please don't hesitate to introduce a question, topic, or any topical thing you want once we open the floor for discussion. Anyone and everyone is welcome to bring a topic to the table. That's the essence and the beauty of this type of conversation. The format of this conversation goes like this. In a moment, we're going to open the floor for someone to bring up our first topic. That or Frank and I will introduce something if you're all being too shy or quiet or you're actually asleep right now or whatever. And then all of us will start talking about that. If there's something you want to talk about, please do not hesitate to either raise your hand or to post in the chat. You can get to the chat by clicking the little chat bubble icon somewhere on the Discord interface. For most of you, if you're on the desktop, I think it's in the top right. I don't know which corner I pointed to because my camera's flipped, but it's in the top right. There's a little chat bubble. Or there's a little hand icon, and if you raise your hand, we'll bring you on stage. You can share your thoughts, and then once you've shared your thoughts, that's over voice. You don't have to have video, just FYI. Once you share your thoughts, we're going to ask that you step down from the stage. There's a little button that should have you kind of step down from the stage. We ask that you do that so we can have room for other people to hop onto the stage and have a conversation as well. If you have something further to add and maybe you forgot, just raise your hand again and we'll bring you right back up. I do want to talk about a little bit of the announcements that I have. So a lot of you may have joined up here with the expectation to hear about what's going on with re-IPL. I do want to let you know that re-IPL is that the planning is going as chaotically as one would expect. So we've done a lot of work. Frank has helped me. A lot of the re-IPL coordinators have really done a tremendous amount of work for us. I just had a conversation with a good friend of mine, also in the audience, Mr. Mike Fontanetta. We tested our technical setup just the other day. So we are going to be ready to rock come August 6th at 7 p.m. at Spark, Kansas City. I will be releasing the final, if you've been following the conversations regarding re-IPL, the final video is going to be posted today. So we're really looking forward to welcoming all of you either in person in Kansas City or virtually here on Discord. And that should be a really exciting experience. I do kind of want to let some kind of space be here in case anybody wants to ask questions about what that event is like, and we will hopefully be able to mention that. Someone turned their Atari on just for a second there. Frank, is there anything you want to mention about React? You've been really close to the planning of this as well as Louisa, who's in the audience. Is there anything you want to mention about how things are going?
Well, I'm really kind of looking forward to it. I mean, we spent a fair amount of time trying to make sure that it is not like the conferences that we're used to. The thing that I think we've been really focusing on is making sure that everybody has a voice. I'm really hoping that a lot of you show up. If you're going to be in Kansas City, we hope you show up physically. If you're not going to be in Kansas City, we hope you're going to be interested in being part on this Discord channel, because I know that Steve and Mike has spent a lot of time working the technical kinks out of that. So if nobody shows up virtually, they'll have wasted an awful lot of time.
And that's okay. Like that's true. Like there's no obligation to attend. There's no obligation to be there. But we would love it. If you're going to be there in person, like mentioned, we have a lot. We're going to have plenty of food there. We're going to have plenty of drink there, and we're going to take care of you. It's going to be basically like this experience is today, but at a larger scale, talking to people in person. We have all kinds of little cool trinkets. If you show up in person, you'll be able to get one of these cards, and this has a pin attached to it. This is a pin for people that show up as well. And if you don't show up, I'm happy to mail you one if you turn up virtually and then you contribute and do something. We have stickers that we can mail to folks as well. So don't feel like if you're not there physically, you're not going to be a part of it and not be able to experience what we have to offer. So we'll definitely be able to do that. If anybody has any questions about what it's going to be like, I know that we've been a bit vague. Well, I've been a bit vague because it's a bit chaotic planning these things and marketing it simultaneously. I'm happy to answer those throughout this conversation. But if there's no other additions that we have about that, I think we can kind of move on to our first topic to kind of get the party started. Does anybody in the audience have a question, topic, or anything that they would like to bring to the table before one of us takes over?
Yeah, this is Mike real quick. I just wanted to reiterate on what Frank mentioned. You know, the work we did on testing people joining virtually was flawless. It was amazing how we were able to hear and communicate and promote people to the stage, just like in this session here. I couldn't say enough about those that are unable to attend in person. Mark your calendars to make sure you're available to join virtually. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. I see some people typing, so I'm going to give some pause here and see if anybody has a topic they're going to throw on the table here.
Well, can I say, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Oh, fine. Yeah, all of my phones, mobile devices, I was speaking, but no audio going out, and then you would talk like for a sentence and then absolutely disappear. which I know a lot of people would like, but at the same time, um,
Who are you talking to,
finding,
Frank or me?
well, actually, both of you guys were cutting out. So anyway, I blame the server software.
Okay.
But I do have a topic if we want, and it's kind of a continuation of what you've been talking about with re-IPL. And first, I have to say, there is what is limited edition as well as far as the freebie handouts? I can't remember. You only made
The
75.
pins
Yes,
are
okay.
limited edition. So
Yeah,
this is a good question, Ray. We have 75 pins that are numbered 1 through 75. I'm gonna see if I can get this tapped here. So if you're planning on coming, each one has a number. You can see there's a little scribble there. There, it's in focus. So this is 1 of 75. I'm gonna keep this for myself. But the sooner you arrive, the lower number. I know it's a bit lame, but I think it's kind of cool. The sooner you arrive, the lower number pin you will get. So it's a bit of an incentive to actually show up on time, like most of you did here today. So if you'd like to do that, if that's something that means something to you, it may be the only time you ever see a re-IPL. We hope not, but it may be a limited, only 75 ever made ever. So that would be cool for some of you to get that in your hands. I see there's, Ray, you did have a topic. I'll make pause for that in a second. There's somebody asking a question, HB, talking about Z16s and DBAs. And if there's any, I'm assuming if there's any sort of benefit from running a Z16 to a DBA. If anyone wants to address that out loud, please raise your hand. If anyone wants to address it in the chat, please direct it to them so that they can hear that feedback as well. So did you want to bring up your topic, Ray? You're welcome to.
Well, I was also going to just aside that in the art world, when there is a limited edition run of a print or something, and that's where they number them in the corner. Two things: the number of prints made, and yes, lower numbers have higher value. Especially with prints, because the higher number ones are slightly less quality just because of the the dyes and stuff. But anyway, so yeah, get there quickly to get a lower number if you're really interested. And who knows, probably past my death, they might actually be worth a little bit more time value of money. Well, so there are some good topics in here actually that are being. Lionel also suggested about IBM ideas, but mine it's kind of a continuation of a discussion we had in the moderator channel. Is what? Yeah. To be fair, Share seems to have some issues. It is still kind of a legacy type of conference, but there seems to a couple of things. Cost and tying into corporations really seems to have put a drag on things, and with a lot of people such as myself relying on their employer trying to to come to it, because let's be honest, if you finance it yourself, you're probably looking at around a $5,000 outlay to visit, which most people really can't afford that. Then you look at conferences like, I'll say the one that I like to use as a example of a great conference is, it's overall Hacker Summer Camp, which is really 3 conferences back to back. First, you have Black Hat, followed by B-Sides, and then you have DEF CON. All of those conferences run longer, but they're extremely popular, and the cost attendees pay for the conferences is much, much less than the outlay for Share. And also, at these conferences, speakers get free attendance. At Share, you only get, now it's only 1 day free. It used to be 1 day for the number of sessions you had, which if you got a whole bunch accepted was great. But, there are a bunch of regulars, such as myself, that go to Share. But I think that's kind of the problem. We occasionally get a few people, and we are very happy about seeing the new people, and we try to welcome them. But the expense of it is really starting to become an issue. And I wonder, is there a way we as a community can put pressure on Share to basically rethink the process? We're obviously looking at almost 70 years here of of tradition of the way things were done. There have been some changes over the years. Share used to be up to 4 times a year. It's now 2. But is there a way we could reinvigorate or invent? Sorry, Amazon. Share.
So it's funny that you say it that way. I've been trying for the last, I would say, 10 years to really change aspects of Share. And not only have I not been successful, I think Share is going the wrong direction. I think it feels less like a user conference and more like a vendor conference. One of the things, and just so you know how reasonable Steven is compared to me, I wanted ReIPL to be a secret conference within Share. I wanted to have a place where we could go instead of going to Share sessions, right? That were user focused. And that's really what I'm looking forward to. I think that Share is doomed. I think the conference model that they're doing is wrong. I think it doesn't speak to the new generation of sysprogs. I think it's we generally people who are younger do not wait 6 months to learn something. If they want to know the information, they want to go somewhere online to get some quick presentation. And it's great if I can see it on an environment like YouTube, where I can speed it up on the parts I don't care about and slow it down for the stuff that I do, right? So I just think that the hour lecture model is wrong, right? It certainly doesn't fit where we need to go. What's interesting is what Share began as is where I think we need to be. We need to have users that are focused on solving a set of problems, um, and saying, hey, we need to figure out what a good process to do here is. We need to figure out, maybe we need to write some code to make it work. I see that as the future. I see that we won't be writing system code. What we'd be writing is management code. And IBM is actually starting to play into this model, understanding that, hey, we can't have everything kind of all created and leave the tooling to vendors, right? So the opportunity for us to start working together to create solutions has come. The platform is more democratized than it's ever been. We as users have an opportunity that we've never had. I would say in the last 40 years, we've never had this kind of power. So I'm looking to ReIPL to be the follow-on conference, or it's more than just a conference, right? Because we do this, right? And things like Share would be great for us to have meets. We'll meet up. We'll spend, we'll use the Share as a reason, as a way to get together. But then ReIPL will be the thing where you actually get something accomplished. And that's really what I'm looking for ReIPL to be, and why I'm investing so much time, energy, and money, not IBM's money, Frank's money, to make ReIPL be the user community, the user conference of the future.
I think one of the things that I've been concerned with the idea that, because I've heard some other people talk about idea of how can we modernize conference ideas, make it so it's more accessible from everyone. And of course, there's always the online session concept where it's like, oh, just attend online. But that ruins the entire purpose of a conference, in my opinion, because the best part of a conference is actually seeing the people that your community is. And there's one thing to be able to talk to someone over like a remote access, like internet source. And yes, you can somewhat get to know somebody that way, but there's something about the face to face, like actually being in the same room as somebody, that completely changes the dynamic. And once you've actually crossed that bridge, there's a personality aspect of it. Like, oh, I actually understand who this person is. I actually enjoy talking to this person. Hey, I would actually enjoy working with this person, even like, on a day-to-day basis. Hey, maybe there's some connection I can make with this, and that can grow our skill sets, so we can kind of grow in our career, and we don't even have to be in the same company, right? Um, and I think we have to have something, and so we can't just not have a conference. We have to have some place to actually meet together. And yes, I hear what you're saying with the re-IPL as being it's a conference within a conference concept of like, oh, you're already here, so you might as well come and attend this thing, and that's cool. But we still have to have a base, right? We still have to have a base thing that is what draws and pulls everyone else, that we can get the budget, management people to actually pay for, right? In order to make it a viable solution. And I don't know that we will ever get it fully there unless we have at least some form of a lecture setting in some capacity. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's the thing that's going to convince management. Oh, you're going there for education, therefore you can get a little bit of approval for this. I don't know. I'm speaking out loud, thinking out loud, but that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I there was a mention of in the chat about fewer users, and I made the comment, fewer users equals more vendors. And yeah, Frank, you have definitely touched on that point. I mean, there is a 800-pound gorilla in the room. Sorry, Frank, not you personally, the company. There is a 600-pound gorilla in the room, not you, Ray, my company. But right now, unfortunately, Share relies on vendors and sponsors to basically pay for everything, which is unfortunate. There's also, I think, Chris Booker, which I'd like to invite you up on stage, Chris, because you've talked about some of the positives of DEF CON. One thing there, though, is the number of people attending DEF CON is in the thousands like it used to be. So you're definitely getting more income from speakers. Right now, yeah, I think we've gotten into the rut of funding. I also made a comment in the chat about don't make me run for the board, but maybe I'll have to. Maybe a couple of us, well, no, I can't run for the board. That's right, not at Broadcom, but maybe we need people that believe there needs to be a sea change, need to run for the board and start getting the message across, because when it all comes down to it, we have to convince the board. We can get a president, a vice president, we can get those officers, but the board still runs things by majority decision. And
I think that's
go ahead. Yeah.
I think that's part of the problem. We have a bunch of people who've been doing this for, everybody on the board. They're not young people for the most part, right? And so
Dusty's on, by the way. Be careful.
Yeah. So I think that they still see things in a very traditional way, and I've tried very hard to get them to say, hey, we should be doing things that are more interactive, less lectury. We should be doing hackathons. I think there's a lot of opportunity there, because what we need to do is have kind of interactive models, and there's just been a lot of resistance to that kind of thing. And I think between that and the fact that SBA is there and they're trying very hard to make money in this space, it becomes very corporate. And so it's hard for single users to have the strong voice there. And that's why I think, re-IPL is a better idea. I think it's not encumbered by all of that baggage that's associated with share. And it gives us the opportunity as users to say, instead of that, what if we did this? And maybe if we become a disruptor, then share would go, well, maybe we're doing this wrong. So I think that having re-IPL be out there and being hey, we've got a different model. It works in an unsession model that allows everybody to be able to demonstrate strength, as opposed to a set of speakers who tell you what you should be thinking or what their experience was. I think the conversation is more powerful than the lecture. And that's what we need to drive.
I think there's a lot of folks here that are probably not local to the US. So focusing on, say, the share board or any of that organizational challenges may not apply to them. So I think broadening the conversation to just events in general, like what keeps people from attending events, what keeps people from enjoying virtual events, may be more productive for all of us. I don't want people who enjoy share to feel that they're not being told, that we're being told that their experience is a less than, because it's absolutely not. So I do kind of want to see if we can focus on maybe how do we talk about events in general to make sure they're, one, not so darn expensive, because they can get crazy expensive, excluding travel alone, right? And two, how do you make a virtual experience not feel like it's just, oh, well, hell, I'm just working and I am expected to attend this thing simultaneously while still managing the tickets that keep flooding in, right? We need to somehow focus on, because that's something, again, that I have focused on in the planning of this event, is to say, how can we make it valuable for people in person as well as people that aren't in person? So if it comes to a neighborhood near you, you're like, oh, well, heck yeah, I get to go visit, and it's not going to cost me anything, or it would cost me a minor expense to turn up. So yeah. So why don't we kind of focus more on just events in general, because I do want to make sure that we're focusing on a productive topic as opposed to lamenting on things that we wish we could change. I know Chris Brooker has joined. You were trying to get on earlier. Are you able to speak now, Chris?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yep. All right.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. First time speaking in Discord. Had to quit and reopen.
Long time listener, first time speaker.
Yeah. I had the pleasure of going to DEF CON a few years ago, and like I said in the chat, it's unlike anything I've ever been to, right? It was a crazy amount of energy. People were going there just to get the badges and play with them. Forget the conference itself. They were just hanging out in the hallways playing with the badges. The year I went, it's a little microboard that you can connect to other people's microboards. You can play Simon on it. As silly as that sounds, there were people chaining their things up to play 20-person Simon. And they spent their conference doing that. And I heard the year before was like records that you had to go to different places and play the record on that record player to hear sounds and solve puzzles. That's not what we're trying to be. I don't think that's the point here. But I think one thing that allows them to keep costs low and attendance high is that they are bolted onto that other conference, Black Hat, right? They're on the back end of it. People have already paid their flights. You know, if your company's like mine, the flights are the same. I can stay a couple extra days afterwards, and maybe I'm only out my hotel cost, right? So I like that we're starting this, during share, and maybe one idea would be to either extend it before or after. If we wanted to do a couple days, people's flights are already covered and they just have to, foot the bill for a room to get to this extra cool session. I do really think that's a lot of how DEF CON was working, because in the reverse, I expanded mine one day backwards so that I could see the Black Hat, conference floor, which was, one of those big, massive Vegas conference floor type things, which was well worth my time.
Cool, thanks. Go
Thank
ahead,
you.
Ray. I saw
I
Mike.
think yeah, we're thanking each other. Uh, but yeah, that's kind of, I mean, yeah, I don't think we'll ever get to that vibe, but that's the kind of thing. It's the enthusiasm. That's what it is. And, you know, and I'm fringe on the InfoSec community on Twitter. I will never call it that other name. And this is, I mean, the excitement of this upcoming summer camp is, it's a beauty to behold. People are already talking about, you know, hey, we'll see you there and stuff like that. I know one thing, somebody mentioned, oh yeah, Sam mentioned Las Vegas, and that is one issue, is there are a lot of companies that will not pay for Las Vegas because it's Las Vegas. But I have been seeing a little bit of relaxing on that over the past couple of years, especially with IBM events that they're now doing a lot in Las Vegas. And I think somebody mentioned Tech Exchange. Or actually, Lionel, you mentioned Tech Exchange. Steven, you went to Tech Exchange last year, right?
Yes, sir. And I will be
Okay.
there again this year.
And I will too. Speaking of gorillas, though, Broadcom and IBM are having some conversations about things. But anyway, since you've been to several shares, and I realized that this was the first Tech Exchange, so it was kind of an experiment.
Mm-hmm.
Can you, here, I'll throw the high school English essay assignment at you. Can you compare and contrast the two events, especially like their vibe and experiences and just, you know, things in more generalization?
Yeah. So for, again, I'll speak specifically to my experience. I don't want to cast a wide net over either event. For me, I feel like the value I derive from going to share, it's not, it feels a touch more vendor agnostic, obviously, than Tech Exchange, which is an IBM led and run event. So the value I derive from going to share event is communicating with people in the hallways, chilling at the bar, maybe going to the restaurant, having these deep technical conversations about things that I feel like really matter to me. But a big part of that is because I'm constantly consuming mainframe tidbits of information, right? I understand that most people aren't doing that. I understand that most people are experiencing for the first time ever the how to upgrade to ZOS 3.1 when it's presented for the third or fourth time at share, right? And for them, that's their only heartbeat of this is how I get the latest and greatest information, right? But Tech Exchange felt like a bigger experience. It felt like a more of a theatrical presentation. It felt like there was more. It felt more like something like Dell Technology World, which is just a massive event with tons of huge banners, crazy production value. So for me, Tech Exchange was more of that, and I appreciated that. But again, both kind of lacking this, what I would consider the scrappiness of, say, this community, which is why I really love this community and why I love these conversations. It's more scrappy, it's conversation that we can have, and we can talk about. It feels like the conversations I have with people like Joe Winchester, people like yourself, Ray, and Frank, when we're chilling at the bar or chilling at a restaurant and we're just talking about things that matter. It's 2 a.m. Everyone's like, well, I should be going to bed. But no one actually goes to bed because you're too busy talking about what matters to you, right? And then you go back to the conference and you're a zombie because you were up so darn late. And you're like, well, that was where the value was, right? It wasn't the what's new and exciting in ZOS 3.1 session that you sat through while you were on your phone or handling tickets on your laptop. It was the conversation that you had at the restaurant or at the bar or whatever. That's where you get to bring things back and say, I heard this really novel idea and I want to do that. So I'm hoping that we can kind of spark that experience at ReIPL, at this venue, getting people together to basically walk away with at least 1 or 2 nuggets that they want to tell everybody about and change the dynamic. Because I'm going to speak specifically again for myself, and perhaps some of you in the audience will resonate with this. I don't like just consuming mainframe information once every half year or whenever a conference comes around, because this is something I enjoy to do. It's a hobby for me, just like it is a career for me. So I think most people can resonate with that statement. So that's why they're here, right? They're here to consume information constantly. And this I obviously understand I didn't answer your question, but this is more of an event around kind of giving that experience to as many people as possible, because I don't know how much the virtual experience takes off for most folks, right? And I was really hoping that what we're about to try will really change that paradigm. So people virtually will say, yeah, it's actually worth turning up to this for half an hour or for an hour or whatever, and have a cool conversation, and then kind of bail out. So yeah, I feel like Tech Exchange was a little more presentation value versus share is like, okay, I'm at a hotel, I'm swinging into rooms, and that's it, right? But yeah, so I don't think that answers much of the question, but there you go.
Here's the problem that I'm worried about. The lion's share of sysprogs look like this, right? They're 5 years from retiring, and there's going to be a whole new group of people who have to take over this job. Now, people who've been doing this work for decades have all kinds of stuff in their heads that will leave when they go. And so this new generation of sysprogs are going to have to figure some stuff out. Maybe figure stuff out that the old guys knew years ago and forgot that they knew, right? It's just so indwelt in who they are, right? So we need a community of new sysprogs who can support each other and grow with each other, to support that capability. Now, I know, companies will talk about, oh, we're going to have AI and the AI assistant's going to help, or we've got some old people that'll help. That may help some, but we know what it's like to have unique problems in our installation, and having a group of people that can support each other, that's key. That's what I see this Discord being. That's what I see ReIPL being, is how do I get this new community of people to support each other? Maybe a little bit of that would be code. Maybe a little bit of that would be, hey, how do we attack this kind of problem? I see this community as that community that will support each other, as the Mainframe community youth is.
Looks like we got Darren up here.
Yeah, Darren.
Go ahead, Darren. What's up, buddy?
That's, as Frank finished off there. That was exactly the point that I was going to make, and that's what I see as the big value of share. The networking and the collaboration and the knowledge transfer from mid-career mainframers like Frank. Don't believe him when he tries to tell you he's senior. That's the real value. Training. I'm in training. Training can't teach you the stuff that a senior sysprog can teach you just by knowing you, and whether it's sitting around the bar or just slacking with you or messaging with you later on or being on Discord with you and so forth. Having those connections and those people you can ping and ask questions and get connected to somebody else and so forth, whether it's Discord or share or wherever, that's the massive value as far as I'm concerned. You can sit in endless 1-hour presentations and take some of it back and so on and so forth. But the people you meet and getting really involved in the community and having these sort of lifelong friends / colleagues / whatever level that you can just ping constantly and ask questions and collaborate with and think up ideas and so forth. That's the massive value. And that's the way this industry is going to, continue on the same way as it always has, is by this community, by this collaboration, by the older teaching the younger and giving them that experience that they can't get anywhere else. They're only going to get from people who've been through it before they retire. And enough said.
So I posed a question in the chat. Seems like people are definitely talking about the value of networking. That seems to be the sentiment. Is there room for mainframe events to merge with general IT events, right? There's larger IT topics that we have now in the mainframe space, and that includes things like Python. Security obviously lands in this. Best practice will obviously land in this. Is there space for those types of, if you're a mainframer, what drives you to a non-mainframe specific event? If you're a non-mainframer, what would drive you to a mainframe event other than saying, "Oh man, I want to learn about those big old computers"?
Honestly, here's the problem, right? So the mainframe community is a bunch of hipsters, right? So we're the hipster people who think it's really cool that we have this other brand of computing. I mean, and to be fair, it's awesome. Well, let's be real here. We all know that, but the problem is that no one else does. So if we try to go to some other conference and we say, "Look at how awesome Python is on the mainframe," they're like, "Who gives a crap? I don't use the mainframe." So I mean, I kind of get the desire, but I think the culture shift would be so dramatic in order to make that work. Um, I've gone to non-mainframe conferences and presented mainframe topics at those conferences, and there's like 3 people in the room that are like excited about it. Everyone else is like, "What the crap is he talking about?" And so it kind of works and it kind of doesn't, from my experience.
All right, Dusty has joined the stage. Dusty literally asked, "How can I get to talk?" Dusty, welcome aboard.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
What?
Oh.
Huh?
Hey, Roy, how you doing?
Pretty good, Rusty. Which this
So-
is a joke that actually came up at Share.
That's-
We-
you know-
the other day.
Yeah, so if
So-
anyone sees Ray or Dusty at Share and we're calling each other Rusty or Roy, this is a 10-year-old joke that just keeps paying off. But what I was going to say is one of the things you're going to see as we're pushing is with like the ReIPL event came up at Share is, hey, there are empty rooms at night. Why can't we use those? 2 is, if you look at the Share site, students, we're trying to get more students in. So students can join Share for free. They can be a Share member for free. They can come to Share for free. And part of my portfolio as working with IBM is I go to universities, Z University. We went to a university, we had 120 kids that showed up that wanted to know about Z, and they said, "How do we learn more?" And my perfect example is I was headed to speak to a university, and one of the partners called me and said, "How do we get an intern?" And I think Emma mentioned, how do you network? Is link to everyone on this community on LinkedIn. So Darren has been so gracious with some of the universities. Is I want to learn about X, and we spoke to a high school. I did. And one of the seniors actually got an interview with PKware to talk about pen testing. Well, he's got a full ride at a university now. So I think the networking is kind of the onus is on you have to the number one thing you have to sell is yourself. You have to you are I hate to say this, and Darren is going to know what I'm going to say is you have to be your own brand ambassador. You have to say, I want to learn, I want to connect. That's that is, if I could put one thing that I get the most out of Share is seeing people, talking to people, networking with people, figuring out what T-shirt Steven's going to wear for the day is, that's, I know, as I think, for me and Frank, I'm older than you, so I can say that as those of us who get towards the end of their careers, like, I want to leave the community as vibrant, as even more vibrant than when I started it. So I think my thing is find us at Share. Also, there's a new tag out there no one knows about yet, but there's a new to Z tag. We had Z Next Gen that didn't resonate with some of the people. There's going to be a new to Z track. There's going to be a new to Z, and again, this is just in the fitting of Share. And I think there's a way to have best of both worlds is you can have the conference, but we all know, and I can't remember who said it on here. One of the things that I get the most out of is it used to be Skids, is show up at Skids, sit around, talk, find a table, the Sunday night events, you can do some of that. So I think you may see some of that coming back for the reason that Frank mentioned. is the networking is, you know, if everyone on this call networks with each other, there's a lot of things, as Steven said, if you have 2 conferences a year or you have a virtual conference, there's going to be something you're going to need a question about. And if you can pick up the phone and drop a question in LinkedIn, and so, I mean, Darren's done that before, is, hey, can you talk to these people? And it's like, the answer is always yes. So
Yeah.
I'll get off my soapbox now. Find us, you know, if you're at Share, find us.
Yes.
I think the industry's, sorry to jump in. I think the industry's missing a massive opportunity in, while it's important focusing on college kids and university kids coming out and having this new to Z focus, which IBM's always done and the industry does, I think we're missing a massive opportunity because we all work in big organizations that, with Mainframe being part of the hybrid cloud, there's all these other systems, and there's systems people working on non-mainframe systems. There's programmers working on non-mainframe systems. There's security people working on non-mainframe systems. These are all IT people that know how to code and know how to do security and know how to work on systems. Introduce them to the mainframe. Inside your organization, introduce them to the mainframe, bring them into some of your groups, let them shadow you on some of your daily work, get them interested in. They've already got these basic skills. They know how to code, they know how to work systems and so forth. Introduce them to the mainframe. You don't have to just look for college grads that are coming out for that next generation. You've got an enormous array of skilled people in your organizations. Bring them across, find a way to upskill them, and let them be the next generation of the mainframe, and they will be more versatile and more cross-skilled because they know other systems as well, which is the future of the mainframe as well. And now I'll get off my soapbox. Dusty, geez, you and I together are bad news, huh?
And am I chopped liver?
As they start to simplify the mainframe, the idea is that we create an environment that doesn't force you to be a mainframer or a distributed person for the rest of your life.
Perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the thing that I worry about right now is the transition from where we are now to that space. Right. And so the importance of the people here, everybody, all of you, is that we have to work together to make that change. And that's why, to me, re-IPL is so important, because it's not going to be lectury. We're going to have to figure out along the way, how do I bring all these people along? Both those mainframes that are mainframers that are have white or no hair, along with people who are new to the environment. And, you know, if I look at some of the people here, not everybody in this group has been doing mainframe their entire career, or even we're not all technical people. I see you hiding there, Soul. So there's a lot of opportunity that we can all be part of a renaissance of the platform and have it be something new and different, which is pretty cool for something that's been around for 60 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, imagine being on the frontier in this space. That's really what re-IPL is about. That's really what this community is about. That's what the water cooler is about. How do I make that change?
I think Tabari did bring up, has a good point in the chat about even the new to Z label could be kind of enigmatic, because he's talking about you can SSH into OMVS and you would have absolutely no idea, other than some slightly different output on commands, that you were actually in ZOS Unix.
Mm-hmm.
Which, okay, we gotta, that's this week's name for it. There are ways, I mean, there are ways to get into ZOS that you would never know you're in ZOS.
No.
And maybe we should say new to the Z environment, because it's really an environment.
It's funny that you say it that way. I think, first of all, I've been working pretty hard to get to the point where I never use TSO again, right? You Yeah, look, see, I made Darren angry. But imagine managing the entire platform from that shell environment, right? And never, okay, here's something that get a lot of people angry. Let's see if smoke comes out of Dusty's ears. I want to manage the entire environment without ever using any JCL, right?
No problem with that at all.
Right. So
Yeah.
so the possibility is there, right? And this is what this group of people really needs to be able to do, is to make that transition, so that that way, if you've been doing Linux for 10 years, wouldn't it be cool to be able to spend a year or two managing a ZOS environment and doing a fairly good job, right? I mean, that's what we have to get to. I pop in, I spend 2 years managing a ZOS environment. Then I go off and I manage this set of Linux clusters. And then they go, wow, that Z thing was a lot easier to do than this, right? That's what we have to get to, right? It's possible, but we need people. We need people to say, we need to get there, right?
We
Yeah,
got
Frank
go
is
ahead,
right on the money. I can't, you know, I say it all the time, like a broken record. I can't overstate how valuable these small, you know, just you know, things like having, you know, Z Open automation utilities, ZOS open tools, how much easier it makes just like doing simple things on the system. It goes such a long way. And I was literally having an argument with people about this yesterday, you know, like, because I think it's such a big deal in making the system accessible. You're not, you know, there's a lot of nuances there that you're, you know, that you're not gonna, you know, fully going to be able to get rid of, but at least make the interfaces, you know, accessible, right? You know, I shouldn't have to use ISPF edit to edit a data set, right? Like, you know, that kind of stuff, you know.
yeah,
And then you can just worry, sorry to cut you off, then you could just worry about learning all of the capabilities. You know, it's like all the interfaces are the same, so then you can really worry about what makes ZOS special, not what makes it strange.
yeah, and I think that that's kind of driving alongside what Sam just mentioned in the chat, that there is always going to be some little bits that deviate your platform or your chosen operating system from some other operating system. And we're kind of driving back to a topic that we tend to always land on. And we have 5 minutes left, so everybody knows. And I did want to make some space for anybody to have a conversation about something else. So let's say you're out there and you're like, what the hell are these people talking about? Now is the time to ask that question if you have. And usually when I bring this up, it kills the whole conversation. So don't be surprised if we actually stop here in a second. So let's kind of have a slight pause here for anybody to ask any questions or come up and bring up a quick 5-minute topic so that they can do that. I'm afraid to bring David on stage now.
So the question actually was not a question that I'm making up, but something you all talked about at the beginning, and I thought we were going to have a discussion about, which was what advice or what is the thing you think new Z folks need to know, or like what is the information you want the next generation of Z folks to actually know? And I'm going to say something countercultural, and that's I don't want them to know anything that's very Z oriented, in the sense that I want it to be all the same. Right, so I want them to just come in and just know computing, and that's kind of my short answer.
Yeah, I think that's where so a lot of people look at me and they said, oh, like, how are you doing so well? And I think it's because I came up on other platforms. So I'm going to speak specifically to myself here. Knowing the basics of TCP/IP, knowing the basics of other operating systems and how to be productive really is going to propel you as an individual to be prepared for any situation. Because right now, we keep talking about quote unquote modernization, which really is at this point a conversation about integration, right? And I think that knowing as much as you can about other things is going to make you this, for lack of a better phrase, Swiss Army knife in a general IT landscape. So being able to hop onto ZOS and be productive, knowing the concepts, and then say, hey, we need to get data from ZOS into this Postgres environment or something that we have hanging out wherever. Being able to say, yeah, well, I think I could do that with a Python connector or something is going to make you a tremendous value to your organization's integration efforts, more so than just simply saying, yeah, I'm the SMS guy, or I'm the RACF lady, or I'm the, WLM person, and that's what I do. Don't ask me anything about networking because I can't answer it. That's really going to hurt you. And if you see people like that are advocating that you be like that, I would advise you to run as far as you can from those people and find a different network that will teach you to be more ambidextrous. I'm not saying don't be deep in any specific subject. Pick the one you love the most and be deep in that subject. But outside of that, be as ambidextrous as you can and learn as much as you can to do as much as you can.
Yeah, I mean that's just part of the job, it's kind of continuous learning, at least for me, that's how it is. I'm primarily in development, but I find it funny how there's some people who they just know one specific thing and that's all they've been doing for years, and and you have to teach them how to use a web browser because all they know how to do is use an ISPF panel, which I've heard about.
Right.
And I feel like I'm learning new things all the time. I'm getting thrown into new challenges and different things, and and I found it kind of ironic how how resistant to change some people in Z could be, because I was taught all throughout college that things change and you have to be a continuous learner. That's just the nature of the industry, and then I was kind of surprised to see that.
If I might interject here, I agree you need to be a continuous learner, but if you're going to be a sysadmin, aka sysprog on ZOS or ZVM, you need to know the tools that are available today to administer those environments, to go in and administer RACF, WLM, pick your poison. Most of that stuff are in ISPF dialogue. Some of it's moved to ZOSMF. Not well, but it's been moved to ZOSMF. But if you don't know what those are, you're not going to be effective at your job.
Yeah, so yes, you were correct that you mentioned that. I use Z Open Automation utilities to get at all that stuff. You can do the JCL, you can do stuff with data sets and so on. So we need to, all the interfaces aren't there to get at this ISPF stuff, but it's not 100% about hiding the complexity, but it's in a lot of ways for me it's about just providing interfaces that make more, that are easier for me to leverage to get at these things. At least that's what it is to me.
I agree. We need better interfaces, but take a look at the WLM. Take a look at ISMF.
So
okay, right. ISMF you're not gonna find on ZOSMF. You're not gonna find it in ZOAU. You've got to use the ISMF ISPF dialogue if you're going to do anything with WLM. That's just one example.
So so before we get into this conversation, I love this conversation. It's 9 o'clock here in the real world. So for those of you who want to continue these conversations, look to, I think it's this way. There's a bunch of channels over here that you can probably join to continue this conversation. We'd love to have you keep having these conversations, not just during water cooler events, but at all times. I want to encourage you all to join, okay, wrong direction, this way. For those of you, I do want to encourage you to join ReIPL August 6th, 7 p.m. Central U.S. time to 10 p.m. Central U.S. time here on Discord. I posted out, there will be more information being posted all over the joint. Or at Spark Kansas City in Kansas City during Share. That's Tuesday night, the first Tuesday in August. That's the point of the last video I'm about to publish. I have to jump to a meeting. I'm sure y'all are late for yours. But thank you so much for being here, and thanks for making this so awesome. I'm going to close the event down, and I do appreciate all of you for being here. So take it easy.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.